This conflict between Russia and Ukraine is about the Russian Federation taking an aggressive position with respect to a former imperial possession, now a neighboring country that's always privileged the ideal of universal democratic freedom, always fought for it. It is their right, and shouldn't the world be supportive of a country's autonomy? Their right to choose is, in fact, part of the liberal tradition that the world claims to follow. But when it comes down to it, countries with military power take talk a good line sometimes, but always act in their own national self interest, and you can count on that. Therefore, in order to operate effectively in the world and to make things more stable in internal politics, nation states usually pay attention to international law and moral precepts as long as they are in their strategic interests. But if there is a conflict between international law and a country's strategic interests, the country will always privilege its strategic interests. International law and human rights will be pushed off the table. This is why talking about whether Russia has a right to have a buffer state or Ukraine has the right to have its own foreign policy would not be very helpful. In the international system, might makes right. The United States of America would never tolerate a situation where Canada or Mexico invited China to bring military forces in a legal way into Toronto or Mexico City. It has a Monroe Doctrine, which says that no distant great power is allowed to put military forces in the Western Hemisphere. This is why Americans feel safe while going to bed at night because they do not have to worry about a possible invasion. That is the same thing that Russians are doing and not letting Ukraine turn into a Western bastion. It has nothing to do with rights. It does not matter whether Ukraine has the right to do this or that. We are saying they cannot do it, just as Cuba was not allowed to invite the Soviets to bring military forces into the Western Hemisphere.